Things I learned from Lorne Michaels. Producing is about discouraging creativity. A TV show comprises many departments: costumes, props, talent, graphics, set design, dressing, transportation, and everyone in every department wants to show off their skills and contribute creatively to the show, which is a blessing. You're grateful to work with people who are talented and enthusiastic about their jobs. You would think that as a producer, your job would be to churn up creativity. But mostly your job is to police enthusiasm. You may have an occasion where the script calls for a bran muffin on a white plate, and you end up with a bran cake in the shape of Santa Claus, sitting on a silver platter that says, "Welcome to Denmark." We just thought it would be funny. And then you have to find a polite way to explain that the character is Jewish, so her eating Santa's face might have negative connotations, and the silver tray, while beautiful, is giving a weird glare on camera. And maybe let's go with the bran muffin on a white plate. And then sometimes actors have what they call ideas. Usually it involves them talking more, or in the case of more experienced actors, sitting more. When actors have ideas, it's very important to get to the core reason behind their idea. Is there something you're asking them to do that's making them uncomfortable? Are they being asked to bare their midriff or make out with a Dick Cheney look-alike? For the record, I have asked actors to do both, and they were completely game. Rather than say, "I'm uncomfortable breastfeeding a grown man who I just met today," the actor may speak in code and say something like, "I don't think my character would do that," or "I've hurt my back and I'm not coming out of my dressing room." You have to remember that actors are human beings, which is hard sometimes because they look so much better than human beings. If there is someone in the room, is there someone in the room the actor is trying to impress? This is a big one and should not be overlooked. If a male actor is giving you a hard time about something, you must immediately scan the area for pretty interns. Number 2, the show doesn't go on because it's ready. It goes on because it's 11:30. This is something Lorne has said often about Saturday Night Live, but I think it's a great lesson about not being too precious about your writing. You have to try your hardest to be at the top of your game and improve every joke you can until the last possible second, and then you have to let it go. You can't be that kid standing at the top of the water slide overthinking it. You got to go down the chute. And I'm from a generation where a lot of people died on water slides, so this was an important lesson for me to learn. You have to let people see what you wrote. It will never be perfect, but perfect is overrated. Perfect is boring on live TV. What I learned about bombing as an improviser at Second City was that bombing is painful, but it doesn't kill you. No matter how badly an improv set goes, you will still be physically alive when it's over. What I learned about bombing as a writer at Saturday Night Live is that you can't be too worried about your permanent record. Yes, you're going to write some sketches that you love and are proud of forever. Your golden nuggets. But you're also going to write some real shit nuggets. And unfortunately, sometimes the shit nuggets will make it onto the air. You can't worry about it. As long as you know the difference, you can go back to panning for gold on Monday. That's what's so great about Will Ferrell. He would do sketches that were absolutely his voice, and what I assume he loved most. Sketches like Bill Brasky, Robert Goulet, Cowbell. But he would fully commit just as much to tap dancing next to Katie Holmes in the monologue. He's the Michael Caine of sketch comedy. He could be in something awful, and it would never stick to him. Number 3, when hiring, mix Harvard nerds with Chicago improvisers and stir. The writing staff of Saturday Night Live has always been a mix of hyper-intelligent Harvard boys like Jim Downey, Al Franken, Conan O'Brien, and gifted, visceral, fun performers like John Belushi, Gilda Radner, Jan Hooks, Horatio Sands, Bill Murray, Maya Rudolph. Lorne somehow knew that too many of one or the other would knock the show out of balance. To generalize with abandon, if you had nothing but Harvard guys, the whole show would be commercial parodies about people wearing barrels after the 1929 stock market crash. Landison's poverty barrels, replacing clothes since, despite being more expensive since right now. Formerly known as Flenderson's Pickles and Suspenders, a semiotic exegesis of jazz age excess and the failings of the Sherman Antitrust Act. If you had nothing but improvisers, the whole show would be loud drag characters named Vicky and Stacy screaming their catchphrase over and over. You kiss your mother with that mouth. Oh! Harvard boys and improv people think differently because their comedy upbringing is so different. If you're at the Harvard Lampoon, sitting in a castle with your friends, you can perfect a piece of writing to be exactly what you want. And you can avoid the feeling of red-hot flop sweat, especially because you won't even be there when somebody reads it. But when you're improvising 8 shows a week in front of drunk, meat-eating Chicagoans, you will experience highs and lows. You will be heckled, or worse, you will hear your own heartbeat over the audience's silence. You will be bombing so hard that you will be able to hear a lady in the back put her gum in a napkin. You may have a point to make about the healthcare system in America, but you'll find out that you need to present that idea through a legally blind bus driver character or as an exotic dancer whose boobs are running for mayor. I'd like to see that sketch. Ultimately, you will do whatever it takes to win that audience over. Harvard is classic military theory. Improv is Vietnam. This is all to make the case that Harvard boys and Second City groundlings people make beautiful comedy marriages. The Harvard guys keep the improvisers from wallowing in schmaltz. Steve Higgins used to joke that every Second City sketch ended with sentimental music and someone saying, "I love you, Dad." The Harvard guys check the logic and construction of every joke, and the improvisers teach them how to be human. It's Spock and Kirk. I guess if you want to tie all my metaphors together, it would be Spock wearing a baldric and staying up all night to write a talk show sketch with a mentally ravaged Rambo Kirk. I tried to apply Lorne's lesson when staffing 30 Rock, and it has worked well so far. Our current staff is 4 Harvard nerds, 4 performer-turned-writers, 2 regular nerds, and 2 dirtbags. Number 4, television is a visual medium. Lorne has said this to me a lot. It basically means go to bed, you look tired. You may want to be diligent, stay up with all the writers all night, but if you're going to be on the show, you can't. Your street cred with the staff won't help anybody if you look like a cadaver on camera. Also, don't be afraid to make them get your hair, makeup, and lighting right. It's not vanity, because if you look weird, it will distract from what you're trying to do. If you look as good as you can, people will be able to pay attention to what you're actually saying. Number 5, don't make any big decisions right after the season ends. This is the same advice they give people who've just come out of rehab. After a grueling period of work, or what passes for grueling work in our soft-handed world, you will receive, or crave at least, some kind of reward. Don't let this cause you to rush into a big decision, like a new house, or a marriage, or partial ownership of a minor league baseball team that you may later regret. The interesting thing about this piece of advice is that no one ever takes it. Number 6, never cut to a closed door. Lorne sighed this once in exasperation over some sketch I can't remember. The director had cut to a door a moment too early before the actor entered, and Lorne felt we lost the audience in that moment. This could mean a lot of things. Comedy is about confidence, and the moment an audience senses a slip in confidence, they're nervous for you and they can't laugh. Lorne would have preferred that the camera cut follow the sound of the actor knocking on the door. which is to say that the sketch should lead the cutting pattern, which is to say content should dictate style, which is to say that in TV, the writer is king. In its most extrapolated version, I think never cut to a closed door means don't forget about showmanship. Make the entrance well-timed and exciting. Make the set look pretty at Christmas time. Add some dancers. There's no harm in things looking fun, and you don't get extra credit for keeping things indie and grim. Or, and this is a distinct possibility, it doesn't mean anything and he was just in a grouchy mood. Number 7, don't hire anyone you wouldn't want to run into in a hallway at 3 in the morning. This one is incredibly helpful. We work long hours at these shows, and no matter how funny someone's writing sample is, if they are too talkative or needy or angry to deal with in the middle of the night by the printer, steer clear. That must be how I got through that first job interview. I was not dynamic, but at least I wasn't nuts. Number 8, never tell a crazy person he's crazy. While never said it overtly, this seems to be Lorne's practice. There were many times in my 9 years at the show when I couldn't understand why Lorne wouldn't just tell people to knock it off. Eccentric writers would turn in sketches that were 17 minutes long. Immature performers tried fits and tears when their sketch was later in the show than they liked. My every terrible instinct would have been to pull those culprits aside and scold them like a schoolmarm. Please explain to me why your sketch should get to be 3 times longer than everyone else's. Why won't you take the perfectly reasonable cuts I suggested? How dare you pitch a fit about what time your sketch is on? Some people don't get to be in the show at all. Do you think you're working harder than everyone else? We're all working hard. But there is not one management course in the world where they recommend self-righteousness as a tool. Lorne has an indirect and very effective way of dealing with the crazies. It is best described by an old joke that most people know from Annie Hall. A man goes to the psychiatrist and says, "Oh, my brother's gone crazy. He thinks he's a chicken." And the psychiatrist says, "Have you told him he's not a chicken?" And the man replies, "I would, but we need the eggs." Lorne knows that the most exhausting people occasionally turn out the best stuff. How do I explain the presence of crazy people on the staff if we're following rule number 7? Easily. These crazy people are charming and brilliant and great fun to see at 3 in the morning. Also, some people at the show arrive sane, and then the show turns them crazy. In fairness to others, I will use myself as an example. In October 2001, Manhattan was a tense place to work, but we all continued to work because it seemed like the Churchillian thing to do. One Friday morning, I was sitting in my tiny dressing room at 30 Rockefeller Plaza, trying to write jokes for Weekend Update. I was reading a thick packet of newspaper clippings, looking for something fun to say about Afghanistan, the Taliban, Saddam Hussein, the anthrax postal deaths. It was grim. Then on the TV, hanging in the corner, Lester Holt came on and said, "Breaking news. Anthrax has been found at 30 Rockefeller Plaza. CDC officials are investigating the potentially deadly substance, which was found in a suspicious package." Addressed to NBC nightly news anchor Tom Brokaw and mailed to his offices in 30 Rockefeller Plaza. If you have decent reading comprehension skills, you will remember from the beginning of this paragraph that I, too, was at 30 Rockefeller Anthrax Plaza, not 45 Rockefeller Plaza, not 1661 6th Avenue, 30 Rockefeller Plaza. Nope, I thought, I give up. I put on my coat, walked downstairs, past my friends and coworkers without saying anything. I walked right past the host for that week, sweet Drew Barrymore, without telling her what I had heard. I just went to the elevator and left. I walked up 6th Avenue to Central Park West. I walked up Central Park West to 96th Street and across 96th Street to my apartment on the West End Avenue, where I would wait to die. Several hours later, Lorne called and said gently, "We're all here. You and Drew were the only ones who left. And Drew came back a few hours ago, so we're ordering dinner if you want to come back in." It was the most gentle, non-bossy pants way of saying, "You're embarrassing yourself." I got back to work that evening just in time to find everyone assembled on the studio floor. Andy Lack, the head of NBC News, was addressing the crew in an emergency briefing. Once again, nothing is creepier than a bunch of adults being very quiet. Mr. Lack explained that the envelope was found in the third-floor NBC News offices, so the CDC would be swabbing workers from the second floor to the sixth floor, just to be safe. Remember all those fun catchphrases from 2001? You remember? Swabbing, cutaneous, Cipro, I am Zoolander. Some of our camera guys were irate that we on the 8th floor would not be swabbed. They occasionally filled in down in news. The discussion got heated. As I watched from the audience balcony, I remember feeling tremendous affection for everyone there. I felt like we were a family, and that if we had to go, at least we'd all go together. I guess I forgot that just a few hours earlier I had booked it out of there, leaving all of them to die. I have a uniquely German capacity to vacillate between sentimentality and coldness. The point is, Lorne did not do what I would have done, which is to say, "You're being crazy, get back in here, everyone else is here. Do you think you're more important than everyone else?" No. He also didn't coddle me, which is what I would have done if I were trying to overcompensate for my natural sternness. Are you okay? If you need to take a couple days off, I'm sure we can manage, blah, blah, blah. Instead, he found a way for me to slip back in the door, like my mental breakdown never happened. "We're ordering dinner. What do you want?" He knew how to get the eggs.